Father in heaven, we come to you this morning to thank you and praise you for another beautiful day of life, for sustaining all of our lives another day. And we pray that as we come into the meeting, that we have the Holy Spirit working within us, that we might gain the knowledge that you would have us to have. I ask us to be with Jeff as he presents the presentation to us, and help us to be your servants always. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, before we go back to Esther, Brother Cabos sent this in on an email a long time ago and wanted me to read it, and I just read it this morning. It's not long, and it's very good, and it's the type study that we're doing. So, and there's I think pretty much everything that he's going to say in here we've already established, but he does it maybe a little bit deeper. So let's just go through this real quick and then go back to Esther. I think you'll like it. He's talking about the death of Sarah, marking when the Adventist churches passed by. You can see his little graph there. So you want to read Genesis 23, 1 and 2 there, Brother Michael?
And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her.
So we've been identifying that Sarah's death typifies the fact that the conference was passed by at 9/11, and she died in Kirjath Arba, the city of four. Okay, that's what it means. And he's saying, typifying, that she's marking the fourth generation of Adventism because it's the city of four. And city of four giants, a place in Palestine. And then Kirjath is also Hebron, whose root meaning is to join by means of spells and charms. Okay, this also locates Sarah's death at 9/11, as this was when the conference joined itself to spells and charms that are spiritual formation. What's about the 127 years old when Ahasuerus is the king of 127 provinces? There's a second witness to 127 right there at 9/11, but what it means is yet to be resolved. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to read Genesis 24, 7 through 11, Brother Mark?
The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house, and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only bring not my son thither again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and sware unto him concerning that matter. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master, and departed, for all the goods of his master were in his hand. And he arose, and went to Mesopotamia, unto the city of Nahor. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water, at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water.
Okay, so Abraham's servant went with 10 camels to find a wife for Isaac. Camels are a symbol of Islam, typifying the activity of Islam at 9/11, when God begins to gather a new wife church after the conference was passed by. And there was a sister that has written in an email comment over the past week's study here in this room. And if you remember in the third decree, when Haman offered to pay 10,000 talents of silver, 10,000 talents is it, of silver in order to kill the Jews, she pointed out the number 10 is a testing process, as he's going to point out here. But also that the the silver, the Hebrew word in there talking about he would weigh out 10,000 talents of silver, and the weighing out in the scriptures is weighed in the balances and found one. It's a symbol of judgment beginning at 9/11 and a testing process. Go ahead.
What does it mean, just like on a, not even prophetic level, but only bring not my son thither? Does anyone understand?
Don't bring his son into Babylon.
Don't bring his son.
Don't take Isaac into
Don't
Babylon.
take him with you when he's searching for his wife.
Yeah, he doesn't want Isaac to go into Babylon. Right? Where does it say it?
24:8.
Because he's saying, if the woman does not follow you, then the oath is clear, but don't bring my son again. And so I was confused because Isaac never went in the first place. That's why I was.
I think what it's saying is the lady's willing to marry him, but she doesn't want to come there, but she wants him to go there for that not to happen. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying.
That probably is it.
That's a question. The Twin Tower event is connected to the spiritual formation issue, yes?
Yeah.
No, okay. So maybe I didn't articulate it well enough to an individual in the church I was talking to, and his case against that was that if you look at in the history of the Bible, anytime Israel did something wrong, God punished them specifically so that they understood what they did wrong. He said, what I'm describing is not consistent with that because the punishment falls on the bigger U.S. and the church is not going to understand that they're the ones that did something wrong. So I didn't have a good response to it. Maybe I just didn't express it correctly. And we can deal with this later if it doesn't.
Well, what most people, even some people that used to be in this message where they go astray, is not understanding the day of the Lord. And in Abraham's prophecy, which gives you the structure for the day of the Lord, and all the illustrations all the way through, one of the things that's taught is that God's people probationary time is closing simultaneously with the land that they are living in when their probation closes. So not only is Adventism being judged and closing its probation from 9/11 onward, the United States is also. So to take 9/11 and demand that it speaks to directly to the judgment of Adventism is missing the point that 9/11 is more about a judgment that's coming upon the United States in the same time period. Okay, so they're trying to isolate the question into a judgment upon Adventism when this is an attack against the armies of Rome.
Yeah. And I understand the two simultaneous judgments. The one that's coming upon the land is by Islam. The one that's coming upon the church is a spiritual judgment by Rome, where we understand that these four abominations, but they're simultaneous, but they're two different things.
And see, for someone to say that, yeah, Twin Towers, okay, how's that a judgment on the Adventist Church? But it's easy to see the judgment on the Adventist Church because at 9/11 they passed the ruling about spiritual formation. That may not seem like a judgment, but it's a waymark that Saul has just went to the witch of Endor and he's finished. So it's, but it took place at the same time, September 2001.
I think I have to express it more carefully than I did when we talked about this. Because I probably set up that by the way I said it.
But most people don't understand the United States and Adventism is being weighed right now in the balances. So 10 camels, Abraham's servants, camels, Islam. So next quote is Brother Chuck, Isaiah 60, verse 6.
Oh, okay. Isaiah 60, verse 6. The multitude of camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah. All they from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall shew forth the praises of the Lord.
Okay, Sister Laverne, Genesis 25, 1 through 6.
Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. And Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashram and Letishim, and this is kind of I don't know Liam, I guess. To 6, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sons of Midian, Ephah, Henoch, and Abida, and Eldaah, all these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward and the east country, unto the east country.
Kathy, Isaiah 60.
All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory.
Brahman, Jeremiah 49, 28 through 33.
Concerning Kedar and concerning the kingdoms of Hazor, when Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon shall smite, thus saith the Lord, arise ye, go up to Kedar, and spoil the men of the east. Their tents and their flocks shall they take away. They shall take to themselves their curtains and all their vessels and their camels, and they shall cry unto them, fears on every side, flee, get you far off. Dwell deep, O inhabitants of Hazor, saith the Lord. For Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon hath taken counsel against you, and hath conceived a purpose against you. Arise, get you up unto the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith the Lord, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. And their camels shall be a booty, and the multitude of their cattle a spoil. And I will scatter into all winds them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides thereof, saith the Lord. And Hazor shall be a dwelling for dragons, and a desolation forever. There shall no man abide there, nor any son of man dwell in it.
Brother Jim.
And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Misha, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, and Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema.
So what is he saying by these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different references? No, I mean talk what we just read from Isaiah 60 verse 6 all the way to the end. What is our brother defining here prophetically? The children of the east. Kedar, and he's associating them with the camels. Okay, so, and the camels are what Eliezer took 10 of to go find Rebekah for Isaac. Okay, so then his comment is, the camels knelt down to drink water near the city of Nahor, typifying the giving of the latter rain, which comes in connection with the message of Islam at 9/11. There were 10 camels. The number 10 symbolizes test and trial, typifying the testing process from 9/11 to the midnight cry. Now, what he's saying here, if you're not catching it, I have been saying that the marriage of Isaac and Rebekah is the Sunday law. And he's evidently arguing that it's the midnight cry. But that isn't necessarily a contradiction, is it?
No.
It's a fractal. Because there's a marriage, we're dealing with that in the story of Esther. There's a marriage at both places. Okay, so everything he's saying about this fractal from 9/11 to the midnight cry would be valid from 9/11 to the Sunday law. These 10 camels, testing process, it's Islam, they're associated with the water. Everyone following his logic? You want to read, oh, you got a big one. Genesis 24, 54 through 67.
And they did eat and drink, he and the men.
And now what's going on, what is he reading here is when Eliezer gets to the point where he's going to negotiate for Rebekah.
And did eat and drink, and he the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, Send me away unto my master. And her brother and her mother said, Let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that, then she shall go.
Isn't that kind of an obscure
Yeah.
comment? Let the damsel abide with us a few days, at least 10. It's so
Yeah,
purposeful
weird,
in
yes.
there. But go ahead.
At least, okay, abide with us a few, okay. And he said unto them, Hinder me not, seeing the Lord hath prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, We will call the damsel and inquire at her month.
Mouth.
At mouth.
There's the inquiry, huh?
Yeah.
And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, thou art the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. And Rebekah arose and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well of Lahairoi, and he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
Okay, the tarrying time which began at 9/11 is marked in verse 44 as Abraham's servant tarried at Laban's home all night. 54. As Abraham's servants tarried at Laban's home all night. In the morning there was an attempt to hinder Rebekah from leaving Mesopotamia, Babylon. The number 10 is also marked here as an attempted, and as they attempted to keep her for 10 days. This typifies the call out of Babylon given by the angel of Revelation 18 verses 1 through 3. Rebekah left Mesopotamia and was carried to Isaac upon a camel, typifying those who received the light of 9/11 being carried into the midnight cry by the message of Islam. Isaac meets her at Lahairoi, which means the well of the living one, typifying the revival of the living testimony that takes place at the midnight cry. And then Genesis 25:20, Sister Tanya.
And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian.
Isaac was highly honored by God and being made inheritor of the promises through which the world was to be blessed. Yet when he was 40 years of age, he submitted to his father's judgment in appointing his experienced, God-fearing servant to choose him a wife for him. And the result of that marriage, as presented in the scriptures, is a tender, beautiful picture of domestic happiness. Isaac brought her into unto his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
So that would be the Sunday law right there.
Yeah.
25:20. When he marries.
Yeah.
So is Sarah the Millerites?
Sarah's the Adventist church.
Sarah's the Adventist church.
She gets passed by at 9/11.
Okay,
The church militant.
okay.
The marriage of Rebekah is the church triumphant.
Yep.
Oh, so he's not necessarily disagreeing with you at all.
No. It's a fractal of what we've been teaching it, that it goes to the Sunday law. He's showing it's a fractal at the midnight cry as well. And we already get that point.
No, I thought he was saying that. I thought he was saying the exact same thing. I thought he was saying it goes to the Sunday law. Never mind.
Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah. The number 40 is connected to the covenant. Daniel 9, 9 through 11.
Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 9, 9 through 11. Somebody want to read that? Tyler, Deuteronomy 9, 9 through 11. 9, 11.
Deuteronomy 9, 9, 11. When I was gone up into the mount to receive the tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant which the Lord made with you, then I abode in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. I neither did eat bread nor drink water. And then 11.
10. 9 through 11.
It doesn't have the through mark, but I'll read 10 too. And
No,
the
it
Lord,
doesn't. Go ahead, read 11.
And it came to pass at the end of 40 days and 40 nights that the Lord gave me the tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant.
Okay, so 40, a symbol of the covenant renewed at the Sunday law. Brother Jason, Genesis 25, 21 through 25.
And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was born barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in the womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were 2 twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
So, does verse 22 mark the midnight cry in that story? There's an inquiry.
Yeah. You know,
And then
Is that what
the
Mark-
birth
is
of the
that
two
what you
is
think?
not the Sunday law where the 2 classes are demonstrated. Go ahead.
I don't really understand the inquiry. I understand there is one, and we're seeing more and more of it, but what is it exactly?
Inquiries
it's
at the midnight cry.
That's the beginning of the midnight cry?
Yes.
Is that what they're?
At the
okay.
beginning there
That's
is an
marking it?
inquiry marked over and over again.
All the way, and then all the way through the midnight cry.
Yeah.
But that's where it's at.
Where's the midnight cry in the parable of the 10 virgins? What in the story of the parable
They
of the
asked
10
for oil.
virgins? Yeah, there's the foolish virgins are asking the wise virgins for some of their oil. There's the inquiry, the first point of reference. Sister Tanya?
I have a question on Genesis 24:65. It says that she took a veil and covered herself. Is that the hiding?
Yeah, that might be a hiding that's marked there. And also in this story, he doesn't have in here, but and you probably all are familiar with this, but if we're saying that Isaac married Rebekah when he was 40 years old, and that this is the Sunday law, but Isaac here in this last passage is an illustration of the everlasting gospel. He's contrasted with his brother Esau, right? They're born at the same time. But what did Esau do when he was 40 years old? That caused just a problem for his mom and dad. He married two women from Babylon. Okay, two heathen women. So you got the Isaac's perfect marriage when he's 40 and Esau's unholy marriage when he's 40. Now, totally different subject. We're done with this, and we'll get back to Esther. But I want to bring something up, and maybe it's because my wife and I, neither one of us were raised with any kind of Christian input. You know, we don't come into Christianity till I'm 25 years old, and she's younger than that. So we don't have a cultural point of reference for some of these things that are automatic with Christians. But we have a friend that recently got married, and this friend comes from a Catholic culture, and his brother has sent me an email question, and I answered it today. I got the question about maybe 2 weeks ago, and I didn't know how to answer it, and finally today I answered it and said, I don't know how to answer it. But his brother was married in a civil court, and then he plans to have a second marriage in a few months where his family can come and he'll do it in a religious setting. And Kathy and I, we've noticed that once we become Adventists that many of the people that come from Latin America, they'll have a civil wedding and then they'll have a religious wedding. And you know, it's, from where I come from, it's like,
What for?
there you go, what for? You know, so I'm thinking we don't get it because either the way that we were raised or because we're raised in Protestant America where if someone invites you to their wedding ceremony, you don't even think about it. You just say, okay, where is it going to be? Is it going to be at the courthouse? Fine, we'll go to their wedding ceremony. If it's going to be at the church, fine. We don't even ask what kind of church it is, you know, whether it's Catholic, Protestant. But it seems to be a big issue in Catholic cultures. And my answer is, or my thought is Isaac took Rebekah, went into his mother's tent, and they were married. So,
And you know, another thing that I've thought about too, the white dress resembles or is supposed to represent your purity, and so you know when they're getting married for the second time with everybody there, and they wear that white dress, it's like a why?
well, so we're supposed to
It's like all show.
uphold the symbol of the white dress?
All I'm saying is
Tradition.
that's what
It's
it
from
is
Matthew
tradition.
25,
I mean, have
It's
a
from
big
Matthew
reception,
25, yeah, it's a
but
virgin.
why get married again?
Now that you brought it up too, I had just wondered that, because my brother was talking about, you know, he's getting married, and I was thinking, like, what are the biblical examples of marriage? Because he had asked me to officiate, what I told him no, I can't. But I started thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know where all this stuff about the marriage even comes from, all of the things that people do at marriages. And this is an example that popped out in my mind too as we were reading.
Customs
Well,
and
they just-
traditions and
He just said,
yes,
you know,
yes,
go to
I
the stand,
think
and
too.
then that's it. He's made a covenant with her, and they're married. So.
All right.
You have told us before that we bury our dead because that's the example that the Bible gives us, is that they buried their dead. And I wonder if there's any examples in the Bible of a marriage taking civil and a religious. Where's the examples in the Bible of a marriage? Is it always one day or a feast for a weekend type of a thing?
Parable
would
of
be
10
our
virgins, they go
example.
to two places.
Okay, so we do have examples.
No,
of
I
the
don't
two.
know.
But the marriages
It's
is
the
there.
same
They
marriage,
just,
though.
it's the same
It's
marriage.
one marriage ceremony.
It's a
It's
ceremony.
the
One
same.
ceremony.
But a marriage ceremony is okay, evidently, from the Parable of 10 Virgins.
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
went to the
Well, you
marriage
don't
of
really
Cana.
see a ceremony in Isaac and Rebekah.
No.
His first miracle
eloped.
was at a
That
marriage.
would be the.
What?
the
Jesus' first miracle was at a marriage. He's so for weddings.
Oh,
and
yes.
weddings.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
It's one of the two
But did he go to
institutions
the
that he
civil
created
and
in
the
Eden.
religious ones?
But I think what it is that they've put a lot of traditions in there to make
Right.
what's initially, they've made a ceremony out of it to make it, I don't know, more pure or whatever. That's what Jesus, when he was talking about the parable of 10 virgins, he used their custom to explain the parable. But it's you can see from the beginning it was never that way. But it's not wrong.
It was the custom.
Man's traditions are not wrong as long as they go along with
With
the
God's will.
with God's will.
Yeah.
So you should go.
Brother Paul.
But it's not required.
Marriage was always the father giving the daughter to the guy. There was always an arrangement there. And nowadays, people don't do that. They just don't listen to their parents at all.
It's not even recognized either. If the father says, you know, you're married, you can marry my daughter and you can take her, right? The government will not recognize that. You have to have an official, you know, document. saying that
Well,
you're
we're
married.
told we're supposed to honor the laws
You,
of
oh,
the
we
land.
have to.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have
There's
to.
no option around it.
Um,
I'm saying biblically.
The other thing that comes to my mind, and I told this person, is, you know, when these people decide to renew their wedding vows, like maybe Chuck and Laverne want to renew their wedding vows. How many years you been married?
39.
Nearly 40.
So
We got you beat.
if there's a principle that's being possibly broken, then it's wasting money.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you've had a civil marriage and now you're going to have a religious marriage down the road, maybe you got enough money, it don't matter.
It's
You
a
know.
lack of faith.
But okay. So anyway, there is the idea of you're held accountable for every penny you're going to
You're doing
spend.
it for your parents or whoever.
If you look at it this way, right? If you get a civil marriage and you consummate that marriage, then you don't really believe that that's good enough. You go into a church. I mean,
Maybe it's for the gifts.
I think it's.
No, what he's saying, he didn't follow his logic. Yeah, for some people we know it's for the gifts.
We know it's for the
We know
gifts.
someone that got married 3 or 4 times, was it?
3.
In a short period of time?
I want to point out that in Romania, if you would have gotten married in the church, the state would not acknowledge that as a wedding. You had to have gone through the court first in order for you to be acknowledged as being married, and then you go ahead and get married in church in order for you to feel like you're married.
That's what I said at the outset. That's the story I hear from these Catholic cultures, that it doesn't make sense to me
Well,
because
that's
it isn't here. But
That's communism.
well, communism is an extension of Catholicism.
Well, yeah, but I mean atheism meaning that they will not accept, what God had written.
Well,
or do
that's the way it is in South America.
Yeah, well,
If you don't have the approval of the church, your civil marriage is iffy at best.
So it's like the reverse. If you don't have the approval of the church in Catholic cultures, then your civil marriage is
Yes.
not good. But in
I think
communism, it's the opposite.
But
Yeah.
I think that in a more deep ways that they were just seeking the blessing of the pastor, the blessing that you could get. Because I know a lot of people, they want to do that because they want to feel like their marriage will start on a good foot, being blessed by the Lord.
Okay, but what
That's what Mark
the
said.
logic that he started down, but he didn't pull the trigger on, is if you get a civil marriage and thereafter you get the religious marriage, then what you're giving testimony to with your religious marriage is that if you did not believe the civil marriage was valid, that you've been committing fornication with your wife all the way until the religious marriage took place. That's kind of what you were saying, right?
yeah, I mean, it's down to your belief. So if you don't believe the state is valid, then you get the state done, so you please the state, and then you wait. As far as you're concerned, you're not married until you get the church marriage. Then you consummate the marriage.
I know a person from Colombia that did that very thing.
Well, they don't do that in Romania. They didn't
Yeah.
do that. They would not be together until they were actually married in the church. That's,
Yeah, that's what he said.
in the Adventist church, that's what they did.
But
That's
That's what he
said.
just
But
said.
that's not the
He
case in
said
this
that
case.
Do the official thing. Yeah.
That's not the case in this case.
Okay, so we've had the discussion. It's interesting, right? But it's hard. I think it's hard for Americans to fathom this because of the Protestant culture.
You just got a pastor who can marry legally, and there you go. It's just.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's on record.
it's on record. It's the Book of Esther.
We will finish it today.
Well, there's really only one chapter. There's 2 chapters, but chapter 10 is kind of short, right?
We'll be out right there.
So, before we start, let's remind ourselves of what we have in place. Does anyone remember where in this time? I started Esther before we left on a trip, and then Mark finished it off, and then we came back and we started at this time. Anyone remember where we started this time? We didn't start with Esther. We started with a distinction between the various waymarks that are associated with the close of probation. Remember? Yeah, you were ditching out during that time period? Okay. What waymark is this? Which decree is this? This is the last one. That's the death decree. Okay, and when does that take place?
After Michael stands up.
After Michael stands up. When's Michael stand up?
Daniel 12:1.
Yeah, but what is
The worldwide Sunday law.
the universal Sunday law? By that, every country now has erected an image of the beast and passed the Sunday law. It begins in the United States. The United States here, there is a Sunday law in the United States. And what we're suggesting is what? That it may be that at 9/11, the Patriot Act is a decree. that would mean that if it's a prophetic fulfillment, that there's at least 4 decrees. All right? But we are trying to use sanctified speculation and suggesting that there might be a decree at the midnight cry, which means how many decrees? I just answered it. There'd be 5 decrees in end time Bible prophecy if the Patriot Act was a decree that qualifies, and if there is to be a decree at the midnight cry, which evidence is that there is. This is when the movement to bring church and state together is initiated in the United States. And there's going to be a series of Sunday laws. So there's probably a significant activity by the Congress of the United States right here. And the reason that we started like that is because we think we're going to see a similar layout in the book of Esther. Go ahead.
Yesterday, towards the end of the class, this is what was in my mind that I was confused about, because I remember you putting 1, 2, 3 at 9/11 and 4 at the midnight cry, and so maybe you could explain that so that I can understand.
I didn't put 4 at the midnight cry.
Or
Yesterday.
4 at the. Well, you did. You know what I mean? The Sunday law or whatever. But they don't. You didn't put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was confused about what was.
When we're talking about the decrees that go forth here at 9/11 in the book of Esther, the writing of the decree, when they're written or they're put in place, doesn't eliminate when they are fulfilled in history.
That's what you kept saying.
They're,
Like the 4th is, you put the 4th at the Sunday law because that's when it was going into place, but that's when it was made, but it's going into place further on. That's the point.
Everything
Well,
seems to be progressive.
in the book of Esther, the 4th decree that we looked at yesterday is made after Haman's death, right? Haman dies at the Sunday law, but it is a decree that allows God's people to defend themselves. So it's not going to come into effect until down here at the end, right? And we're placing the first 3 decrees here, but what's the first decree?
It's a friend of it's basically Millerite. It's to prevent Vashti from coming before the king.
Okay, so someone said divorce.
It's a divorce.
It's the divorce of Vashti, right?
Yeah.
And seeking a new wife. You might be able to put that divorce right there. This is where she's divorced of him. Now he's going to go out looking for a new wife. Sarah. A whole list of evidence that this is where the church has passed by.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where the new comes and starts out.
So the first decree, its effect is right here. The second decree is what? Call the virgins. And where does that take place?
Well, it begins at 9/11, but it goes into place. The first one's in place by the midnight cry because it's a selection process.
So depending on the fractals, you can have the first gathering of the virgins here and the second gathering of the virgins here, or you can have the first gathering of the virgins here and the second gathering of the virgins here.
But the call starts at 9/11.
But the call starts at 9/11.
No matter what, the call starts at
Yeah.
9/11.
Would it be better to say that it begins in the time of 9/11 than actually to put it starts at 9/11?
Starts at 9/11, I thought.
I don't know.
Isn't that when, I mean, worldly wise, that's where people were going back to God, right after that happened.
On that day.
At that
Yeah,
day.
but yeah, how many people actually recognized what the history of 9/11 represented and responded accordingly?
But the Lord is not slack.
Yeah.
He sent his call forth right on time.
Right on time.
It's when we recognize it maybe later.
Individually.
The call still came.
It still started at 9/11.
Okay, so the decree is established at 9/11, but it's what do you call it? Not conclusion. It's climax, or its effect is either here or here, depending on what fractal you're looking at.
Well, it begins at midnight cry, but it's progressive up until the Sunday law when it's empowerment.
It's like the trumpets where they start and then the woe part comes later. It's almost
Well,
like the messages.
wait a minute. There's virgins gathered in this history,
Yeah,
and then virgins gathered in this history.
yeah.
But at the larger level, the virgins are gathered in this history and then in here.
Okay, okay, a different fractal, yeah.
Okay, so now what were you saying?
I'm just saying we allow the first angel's message to start and then be empowered. We allow the trumpets to start and then have the woes. And this is the same thing as the call.
Right, because 1989 is when it started, actually.
I just thought of something. Can you just confirm that? See, I thought we're looking at virgins as Adventism, so how would they be gathered?
All right, we've explained this to you before, and you always go, oh yeah. On October 22nd, 1844.
No, I know they're gathered there, but you went forward from there, but...
No, that's what I'm saying, is there the wise virgins at this waymark are gathered when they move into the most holy place of
Yeah,
Christ.
no, but it doesn't go past that way, that's a...
No, they're gathered right there.
Yeah.
So, but the call of the virgins isn't 1989.
I'm saying it's empowered.
Okay, yeah, the first angel's message is empowered there, but when it's empowered, that is the calling. So, the first decree...
So there would be some that recognized none.
No, well, we don't know of any.
We don't know of any, but he didn't know of the 7,000 either.
Well, no, there wouldn't be, okay, because the reform lines teach you that the message always arrives and God's people do not recognize the arrival till thereafter. It's in there every time. 1798 was the time of the end. Miller doesn't start studying until 1818 or 1816. The second angel's message arrives on April 19th, 1844, and there isn't any Millerite on record that right there on April 20th starts saying Babylon has fallen. It takes a period of time. Okay. The third angel arrived on October 22nd, 1844, and they didn't understand any of that till thereafter.
So you've got to receive it and comprehend it before you can understand it.
So, but what I want to get at, the first decree, the divorce, that's right here. The second decree, it's gonna reach its climax in here. What's the third decree?
The hanging of Haman.
The hanging of Haman. This is the decree that has the seal with it. And so does the fourth decree have the seal with it. So can we say that all three messages in Revelation 18 arrived at 9/11? Because that's what we're saying about these decrees in the story of Esther.
It says that all three messages are combined and blended and given in their order.
The angel came down at 9/11, and that was typified by August 11th, 1840, which was the empowerment of the first angel's message. So the first angel arrived at 9/11. And when he came down, what was his message?
Babylon is fallen.
Babylon is fallen. That's the second angel. But what can we prove now about 9/11? That the United States was fully prepared to pass a Sunday law at 9/11. The third decree was there too.
Was ready.
So how was Haman's hanging decree ready at 9/11? And what way can we prove it out of the story of Esther? I can see how Ezra is holding all the decrees and what you're saying is the progressive judgment of the United States, but how is Haman's actually showing up in Esther? It's not.
At 9/11?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Only that the
witnesses.
sense that his decree comes from Shushan the palace. This is all coming
Shushan.
from the same place, right?
That's what you're using? The
Yeah.
location of its
Yeah.
start point? Or, I don't know.
So by context, he's there.
No, but the decree to kill him, that process has to be worked out for a couple time periods before it actually goes into a decree.
Well, because of the other lines of prophecy that we know they were all three here, then we can read in that Shushan the palace in that story is the marker for the decrees and it's there. Okay, so let's read. Do we want to put the dates up here again, or the time elements? No? Okay, so let's go into 9 and 10 of Esther, chapter 9 and 10. And there are 3 verses in chapter 10 and 32 verses in chapter 9. That's 35 verses. And there's roughly 12 of us in here. let's do 4 verses each. I'll start. No, if there's 12 of us, 3 verses each, I'll start. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same. Esther chapter 9, verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them, the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people, and all the rulers of the provinces and lieutenants and deputies and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. So this is a literal story that is typifying something spiritual at the end of the world. Are God's people at the end of the world going to kill their enemies? So what's being typified here?
Spiritual death?
The sword of the word.
The sword of the word.
Ezekiel 9, where it talks
Ezekiel
about
9.
Well, it says it in Psalm 91, 1,000 will fall by thy life, and 10,000 will fall by life, and nothing shall come nigh thee. So it says when they raise their sword against them, they just fall flat down on their face and perish. That's their.
But it doesn't say that that God's people do anything.
No. It's
It's the word of God that does it.
But this is a decree that allows God's people to actively participate.
It's the stone that strikes the feet.
It's the stone that strikes the feet. Yeah, but it also might be the final deliverance of God's people, in the sense that they're finally delivered from sin, and that you have an active part to overcome sin.
So this would be the wrestling between God's people and Satan. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
So they have actively participate in what?
In defending themselves. And if you read it, they don't just defend themselves, they aggressively take the attack to the enemy.
So this would be the scapegoat and the fit man. Is that what you're thinking here?
So you're saying that the enemy here would be Satan, and it's God's people's
Yeah, there's a spiritual
activity to resist and overcome
There's a spiritual battle, yeah.
Satan.
we're to have a destroying weapon in our hand. That's what Ezekiel 9:1 says. It talks about,
Yeah, the God's word.
so then
Third
that,
one was meant.
The promises of God's word are what eliminate sin out of your life.
And it's sharper than any two.
That's what Jesus had in his hand when he fought the devil in the wilderness. It is written every time.
And we know that we can't take any of that literally. We have to
So
take
the
it spiritually.
Yeah. Or you have to sit in the back of the class.
The shepherd's rod, take that literally.
Yeah. they
Shepherd's
do.
rods
They
takes
do.
that literally.
Mhm.
Okay, Brother Michael, 4 through 6.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan the palace the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men.
Okay, we'll put it up there. I have no idea what 500 men in Shushan the palace getting slew represents, but we'll mark it. Brother Mark, 7 through 9.
And Parshandatha and Dalphon and Aspatha and Paratha and Adelia and Aridatha and Parmashta and Arasai and Aradai and Vajasatha.
Brother Chuck, 10 through 12.
The 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hand. On that day the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace. And the 10 sons of Haman what have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee, or what is thy request further? And it shall be done.
So, go ahead. The destruction of Haman's 10 sons. Go ahead.
The 500 they're in Shushan. It's the 5 foolish virgins. They die in the general destruction of the wicked at that point. If you're marking that.
Oh, okay.
Boy.
What's that? Maybe let's not get.
Not difficult.
We got to think things through with Brother Tyler. So we're dealing with Haman's 10 sons dying. Where are they going to die?
On the gallows.
On the gallows. So.
But it's marking a test also. And the last test we see in the Bible, or in the sacred testaments, is in great controversy when that battle was going on, when the angels want to go and deliver God's people. And he says, no, wait, they must drink of the cup. This is the last test to get rid of their earthliness. He's marking a test. Although,
Okay, you're talking about time of Jacob's trouble.
yeah,
This is time of Jacob's trouble.
yeah.
So are you saying that this is when Haman's 10 sons get killed? This is Jacob's trouble. Everyone understand that?
Yeah,
We put this in place earlier on a couple
because
weeks ago.
they realized that, well, this would be Revelation 17:14, I think, when the 10 kings eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Because
You're saying Haman's 10 sons is the papacy?
No, everybody's punished. This is not just a single point in time. This is
A period of time?
a period of time. Yeah.
When does it start? That's where I'm going
Well,
with it.
they make the death decree, and they're all still at one. They're all still at one at this point. So it must be sometime shortly after that, or they realize they've been sold out.
Okay, you're talking about something that down the road. What I want to do, if I can, we drew some conclusions about what Haman's hanging back here at the Sunday Law represented. What did we say, even if you didn't settle on it? What was this? The gallows. If this is the gallows, okay?
Yeah.
The gallows is what? It's the image of the beast being set up from here to here. Okay? But his death is the mark of the beast. It's the Sunday Law. And at the Sunday Law, what starts?
The image of the beast of the 10.
Well, yeah, this carries on to country after country, but what prophetic expression begins here? That does not begin at 9/11. The day of the Lord. This is the executive judgment being executed upon the United States. So when we get down to here, what is the gallows and the hanging going to represent?
The death of it.
Another expression, another waymark in the story of the day of the Lord. What's the next primary waymark? The day of the Lord is progressive.
So it'll be the world's on
It'd be right here.
So that's where they'll die. Because
This is the gallows first 10 kings.
the thing is that
10 sons.
because we were told that they die and then they're put on the gallows. Remember the story?
They kill them.
and then they put them on the gallows.
Yes, it's weird if you don't watch it, Sister Tanya.
But this is also Esther's third request. Because the king comes back and asks her, what is your other request? So far, they've hanged Haman, they reversed the death decree, and then what is your other request? And that's when he's requesting that the 10 sons to be killed. So this is Esther's third request.
And what does that mean?
Maybe it's his third.
So, okay. I'm saying the gallows is marking here when Michael stands up. But yes, the 10 represents a testing process. And we know that the day of the Lord is progressive. And the 7 last plagues time period is part of the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord goes all the way to the end of the 1,000 years, when the wicked are punished there.
So what are we labeling on that understanding? What are we labeling Haman's 10 sons as? We couldn't be
The 10
labeling-
kings.
But the 10 kings go on at the death decree to, after they've ruled, they burn her with fire. So they're still available to do that kind
It's
of
a
a work.
spiritual death. I mean,
Yeah.
the United States is hung at the Sunday law, but he's still there because he's part of the 10 kings.
Yeah.
They die. That's it. They're no longer got a chance of probation.
Even when it comes to dealing with Shepherd Rod's teaching, Shepherd Rod takes Ezekiel 8 and 9 and says that the Sunday law, they're the Lord's destroying angels. They're going to go in literally to the Adventist church and kill all the unfaithful Seventh-day Adventists. And the easiest way to counter that is when Sister White's commenting on Ezekiel 9, she has a statement where she says that those people that are slain in Ezekiel 9 die in the general destruction of the wicked. The wicked that receive the mark of the beast in Adventism at the Sunday law don't die right then and there. They die down here, the general destruction of the wicked. So too with the 10 sons. Whatever the 10 sons symbolize, that dies, but
Is that the
it goes
UN
forward.
or what?
Yeah, the 10 kings.
So kind of like the United States died at 9/11 and she's still actively moving forward.
The United States dies at the Sunday law.
But as far as what we've been teaching, that her last horn was conquered at 9/11.
Yes,
So
but
she's dead but alive? Her horn's
yeah, she's
broken
dead
out,
but alive.
bleeding out?
In the notes that Brittany and you are working on. To me, the key to this is the Bible says, "Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh." Okay, so the United States spoke at 9/11 with the Patriot Act, identifying that it has switched from English law to Roman law, but it's not going to pay homage, bow down to Rome until the Sunday law. And that's the same thing with the illustration in the Millerite history. On the first day of the first month on April 19th, 1844, the Protestants rejected the first angel's message, but it's not until October 22nd, 1844 that Sister White shows them praying to Satan and Satan answering their prayers. They're manifesting their heart here, but they got to come to this. The cup has to be full right here. And Sister White says they do not fill their cup until they pass the Sunday law.
They've got to do the act.
Okay, yes. So their heart's willing, but it's not until the cup is full, and the cup is full at the Sunday law, Sister White says.
But they still go forward. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Even though your cup is full and you've been hung, you're like a
Haman, yeah.
zombie going out. You know, you're dead but alive.
When you're showing the relationship between the United States and Egypt, Haman's one of the classic examples, because Haman here, this is his 10 sons. They're family.
Oh, they're family.
They're family. They're related.
Yeah, I can see.
So everywhere you look at the relationship of Tarshish to the ships of Tarshish, how many merchants are there in Ezekiel 27, is it?
Yeah.
10 merchants. But the primary merchants is Haman. It's Tarshish.
But they're still the head of the UN, aren't they?
Yeah, they're still there. They live on.
But they're blind. They're being made blind.
They're totally blind. The veil has been put over their head.
One of these names, I was looking at the names of the 10 kings and the definitions, and
The 10 sons.
the 10 sons, and the 6th son. I don't know what the 6 has significance of, but his name means the lion of the decree. And there's several that are associated with the lion, so I don't know what that.
The lion of the decree.
I don't know, the lion
Babylon's
is Babylon,
decree.
And there's a decree, so I thought, and the 6 would be the 6th kingdom of the United States, but then there's not. I don't know.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. Whose turn to read? Laverne, you're doing 3 verses, be 14, 15, 13, 14, and 15.
Starts with 13.
Yep.
Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree, and that Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month April, and slew 300 men at Shushan. But on the prey they laid not their hand. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and had rest from their enemies and slew of the foes 75,000, but they laid not their hands on the prey.
Okay, you read one too many, but that's all right. But, okay, so now we see Haman's sons are killed, and then thereafter they're put on the gallows. Is it valid to say that the gallows, the Sunday law here, is marking the day of the Lord, and therefore the gallows down here is marking another significant waymark in the day of the Lord? And if it is, what does it mean that Haman's 10 sons actually die before that? Who are Haman's, if we're correct in saying that Haman's 10 sons are the 10 kings in Revelation 17, then who are the 10 kings in Revelation 17? United Nations. But in Revelation 17, who are they? Never says United Nations in Revelation 17. And who are the 10 horns? The United States is the 6th. Who are they?
The seventh.
They're the 7th.
Ah. And the 8th.
When they agree to give their kingdom to the beast, the 8th takes over. Their kingdom is now it's the 8th kingdom. There's some place in this history where right here the 6th kingdom gets passed by. It becomes the 7th kingdom, which is Haman's 10 sons. But that kingdom dies at some point where the 8th kingdom, who is of the 7, becomes the 8th kingdom.
I thought, okay.
Go ahead.
I understood that when they make the decree, when they put the Sunday law in place, that's when the papacy sits back on top of them. That's when her deadly.
Oh, so you're going to put this right here?
That's how I would understand it.
Okay, this.
What do you mean?
So you're saying the 8th kingdom is a kingdom that only exists after the close of probation?
No, it's what marks the close of probation. When the papacy sits back on top of that woman, the deadly one too, Michael
It's
stands
only
up.
for an hour also, it's such a short space of time.
This is something that I keep trying to understand.
Yeah.
How did they reign an hour with the beast, but that's not the 8th kingdom?
Yeah, that's.
No, that is the 8th kingdom.
Well, then the 8th kingdom starts the Sunday law of the United States, or I've been understanding the hour wrong the whole time. Because I've been understanding the hour starts at the Sunday law.
The hour is the Sunday law crisis.
The whole time period, yes. So
Okay, so
the 8th kingdom
this is the 6th kingdom.
start there. That's where I get confused.
Yeah, but it's not so much marking they're reigning with it for the whole period. In that 1 hour, they're going to reign.
That's not what it says. It says they reign
Within 1 hour. They reign for 1 hour with the beast.
Yeah.
With the beast. Well, just because they can reign together even.
So where's the 7th kingdom start?
It starts at the Sunday law.
It starts right here. This is the beginning of the 7th kingdom.
Yeah. Because
Sixth kingdom just died.
Yeah.
7th kingdom begins.
And if they're
And
reigning
the
with
eighth
the
kingdom
beast,
comes with the universal Sunday law. Finally, she's completely. Or
That's what he's kind of implying.
that makes sense though, because everybody else is out of her way.
but that's where I struggle to understand is that how do they reign an hour?
Yeah, I don't think it can be that way. Because she's reigning during the time period of the persecution of the Sunday
So
law.
6, 7, and 8
This is
all
the
come
end of it.
together at the same time with the Sunday law.
6, 7, and 8 come together at the Sunday law.
The dragon, the beast, the false prophet. We know that's true in one sense.
You got Spirit of Prophecy quotes to back it up. Sister White talks about when the United States stretches forth its hand to clasp the hand of the papacy, and she ties that into the Sunday law, and she says, and it stretches out its hand to grasp the hand of spiritualism under this threefold union, right here.
6, 7, 8.
So this is 6, 7, and 8.
You're all combining at that point in time.
But 8 would be on top.
Yeah, but okay. No, I don't have a problem with that. It's just that you mark the United States as being fully conquered because she implements a Sunday law.
Yep.
Okay, so somehow the papacy is ruling there before all those nations have actually.
We'll have to
Maybe
take this up
that's
tomorrow.
where the H should be put, is right underneath that gallows, right before it.
Yeah, we've got to.
There's 10
We'll have to
right there.
resolve this tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
Haman, the seventh kingdom, Haman's 10 sons, they die before they get put on the gallows. Sister Laverne, you want to have a closing prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that we can come to you and ask and thank you for all the many blessings we have. We're so thankful that we have a school to learn more. We're thankful for the speaker, the one that's helping us. And we want to thank you for all the many blessings we have, many promises and answered prayers. We love you and we want to be ready when you come. We ask this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.